At round 6, Chad DUVALL shocked the world, becoming the first rider to win an overall on a production ATV. But Bill Balance, William Yoakley, and the rest of the pro riders vowed to never let it happen again. The Scarecrow GNCC is next. Like Halloween in June, hi everybody, and welcome to the Scarecrow GNCC ATV race presented by Suzuki from Ulrichsville, Ohio. Dave Reef and five-time GNCC motorcycle champ Scott Summers ready to bring you all the action today. But the talk of the town, Scott, still Chad DUVALL.
Yeah, Chad was really impressive in Kentucky, but this track's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a little more open with a big motocross track, and we'll just see how Chad does today.
This is definitely a pressure race because, you know, all eyes are focused to see how I'm going to do today, you know, and you know, I don't want to be too disappointed, you know, if I don't, you know, win it or get on the podium or whatever, cause, you know, I'm back where we started at, and come to a tight race where we can really do some bumping and grinding like the last race, you know, I'll be right there.
And now with the win in the books, many of the racers like DUVALL would love to see the four-stroke program evolve to bigger things.
The rule in the class is that it's a four-stroke class, although there really aren't any racing style ATVs that are two-strokes available anymore, so it really isn't an issue. The four-strokes seem to be the wave of the future on the showroom, and we hope they'll be the wave of the future on the track too.
To the Pro ATV points page, William Yoakley 1 better than Matt Smiley, 12 better than Bill Balance, BORICH and DeRisi 4th and 5th as we score 11 the total 13 rounds in this class. As far as the track here at Ulrichsville, Ohio, let's take a look at the Scarecrow. Doesn't look like one, Scott.
Yeah, you know, this is kind of a new track. It's been around for a couple of years. It's owned by Steve Johnson. Steve of Wiseco Piston is one of the original sponsors going back probably 20 years in this series. Anyway, Steve knows a lot about tracks. He's designed this thing. It's got a big motocross track that's kind of in a big V shape, so you can see a whole lot of it, got a lot of good visibility. And of course, there's thousands of trees that the riders have to weave in and out of.
One of the best things this course is known for is its long uphill start with a big left-hand turn, a start that they're about ready to take. The names and numbers of the guys you'll be watching today, all of those with a blue box next to that number represent a pro ATV rider, while those with a red box next to him, like you'll see in the next page, Brian Baker, Chad DUVALL, and Greg True, all aboard a pro production ATV. Well, it's just about time to kick things off here at the Scarecrow. Kick things off, indeed we do. There is the long uphill and the quick left-hander, and that's fast.
Fast and pretty choppy. You see a lot of the bikes jumping around there right before that fast uphill turn.
Like Balance with the whole shot behind him. It's the 4 of William Yoakley, the top 2 guys at the points. We also saw Brad Page streak by in the number 3 ATV. The field begins to string itself out.
And as you can see, we can see these guys pretty well, but when you're following right behind another ATV, their visibility is pretty poor. They're relying on memory, probably walked those first couple of turns.
Anytime you have an uphill, got to have a downhill, and that's a pretty fast one.
Yeah, it looks like dust is going to be a factor today. You know, when the first couple of turns are dusty, that's not a good sign for the whole rest of the track.
Defending champion of the ATV class is Chris BORICH. He'll try to duplicate that again and get himself back into this points race as you see him now beginning to kind of come into the wood section. Section's got a little bit of water to start into it. Notice the guy's really slowing down.
Yeah, I was surprised to see everybody drop their front wheels and instead of jumping it. Now the guys are well, you see some guys jump it, some guys drop down in it. Probably being a little conservative since it's the first lap.
Can Greg True duplicate what Chad DUVALL did 1 week ago? We'll find out. Here go your pro production riders.
Well, what Chad did is he proved that it can be done. So it's probably given some of these other pro production riders a little confidence that they may not have had before the Kentucky round.
Same sweeping left-hander, and it's True with the whole shot on the 15.
Now, one of the ways to tell the difference between the pro class and the pro production is the throatier, deep sound of the four-stroke. Pro production bikes are all four-stroke machines.
If you had a checkbook, you could probably tell the difference too, right?
Yeah. You know, the unlimited bikes or the pro class bikes are probably around $20,000, $25,000, whereas these guys are probably in the $7,000, $8,000 range.
Just like NASCAR on dirt, we'll be going for just a tick over 2 hours. There'll be a pit stop involved, as well as all kinds of terrain. Well, we've just gotten things underway here in Ohio. Matt Smiley, your leader. William Yoakley, Chris BORICH, Bill Balance, and Brad Page, all within 11 seconds. The Scarecrow GNCC from Ulrichsville, Ohio is being brought to you today by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles. And today it is all about the all-terrain vehicle, the ATV, and Matt Smiley, your pro class leader, who's got plenty of company from William Yoakley and the rest of the boys.
Yeah, you can really watch the suspensions on these machines work. That's one thing that the pro class believes they have an advantage over those four-stroke machines. The shocks on the pro class riders' bikes are a little bit longer, so they have a little more room to work as far as absorbing these bumps.
Brian Baker has taken the lead now in your production class, sneaking by the 15 of True. Begin lap number 2. Smiley leading the freight train through one of those dark and shady portions. Things kind of jump out in front of you in those?
Yeah, they do. You know, we're looking at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun's high in the sky, but yet there's places back there that are like caves, and your eyes have to do some pretty quick adjusting.
Number 10 is Chad DUVALL, making his way, avoiding the stop sign. Well, not avoiding it, just stopping temporarily at a checkpoint. 2 checkpoints across the track. What's the purpose of those, Scott?
Well, they just keep track of the riders for scorekeeping, and they make sure nobody's cutting the track. It's kind of like the grocery store. You go in there, you get scanned, and you get right back out.
You can really see a lot of the elevation change here in this course from our camera position, something we don't normally see.
Here we are on board with Mark HYDE with a helmet cam. Mark taking a little different line. You know, Mark's doing something that the racers should be doing. Whenever you're trying to pass somebody, you never want to take the exact same line, because in the event that that person makes a mistake, you can't pass them if you're right behind them.
But it's also certainly of note to tell everybody that he is on 2 wheels. These guys are on 4 wheels and are about 3 times as wide.
That's right, so that gives Mark a little more opportunity to take a little more creative line.
Baker leads the production class. Balance now out in front with about a 6 or 7 second lead over second place. Third place streaming around right behind him.
And you watch those guys, they actually initiate a little bit of a slide on purpose. It helps them change direction. If they got too good a traction, they would actually high side and crash. Require more body English to stay in control.
You could really see some of that English there. Let's see how Smiley negotiates the corner. Not quite as smooth as Balance.
Yes, Smiley would love to have just that little extra edge that Bill Balance seems to have had the last couple of years. I'm sure Matt's getting really tired to finish second in these championships.
Gives you an idea how tight that course really is there. About 3 inches on either side of the wheels.
That's right, and those trees are very unforgiving. You know, if you can just kind of visualize those being like concrete pylons, because that's pretty much what they feel like when you run into one.
Balance being a little deliberate here, taking his time. That's probably the smart move there too.
Yeah, there may have been a big mud hole. Normally, if you see the guys going really slow, that means they're scared. They're afraid they're going to get stuck, so they're being real cautious about where they put the machine.
It's such a great shot watching these guys scissor back and forth through the trees.
Another thing that happens is when they're cornering, the rear tires take a slightly different line than the front tires, so they have to kind of be conscious of that and anticipate, you know, whatever those obstacles, the effect that those obstacles are going to have on the machine. The smart guys kind of ride proactively. If they see a big bump that's going to cause a lot of rebound, what they'll do is actually bounce down on the seat so that those two forces meet at the same time.
She's smiling the freight train with the caboose Brad Page on back, a little more deliberate through that mud hole as production riders now make their way through that tricky tree section.
And you also saw some brake sliding there. He's actually locking up the rear brake to slide the back of the bike around, in essence steering with the rear wheels instead of the handlebars.
Shot of Santo Derisi on the number 11 there. Part of that motocross track, a nice little double.
Yeah, and lacking some water, it looks like. Looks pretty dry out there.
It's a dusty day in Ulrichsville, Ohio, but that's all right if you're Bill Balance because you're leading. Dave Reef, Scott Summers ready for a fresh pair of goggles and a quick splash of gas as it's time for our first round of pit stops. Bill Balance is in. Take a look behind him. Here's second place coming through the checkpoint now, but Balance will get a little extra splash of gas, make sure that cap's on tight. He's down and away.
That was a really slow pit stop. It looked like he didn't get the tank full, so he stuck the dry brake back on there, checked it again, and these guys could have done a better job.
As much bad luck as Bill Balance has had this season, it's kind of interesting to see him kind of push his luck a little bit here, being delivered on that one section of the course and now in the pits. I figure he's going to go out there and get everything he can while everything is in order.
Yeah, it's easy to get in too big of a hurry and leave the pits without a full tank of fuel, and boy, that causes big problems later down the road.
Of course, that's where probably some of that veteran experience comes into play again, knowing when you can do things like that. Brad Page manipulating a little bit of a side heel. That's kind of got to be interesting to go down and around.
Yeah, it's a lot more difficult on an ATV than it is a dirt bike. Because in the event that they high side, the machine's going to come over on top of them. There's really no place for them to go. Dirt bike just kind of slides over, and you pick it up and take off again.
Back on board with Mark Hyde chasing William Yoakley through the trees. Tricky section there. You saw that one little tree reach up and kind of grab at him a little bit. And that's not so little, though, when you're moving about 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, those little saplings are kind of like springs. One guy goes over it, preloads it, and it can come back and smack the next guy right in the face.
Just like a whip as Balance continues to lead to the checkpoint. Yoakley now through as well. This course looks to be a little bit quicker than the one we just came from in Sparta, Kentucky.
Yeah, everybody's riding skills are different. Some guys go really fast in the more open terrain, and other guys go better in the super technical, tight trees, rocks, tree roots. But at the end of the year, these guys have been tested on all different types of terrain, so the fastest guy will win.
There's Page through the checkpoint now as we take a look at our production class leader, Brian Baker, trying to duplicate what Chad DUVALL did. DUVALL not very far behind as well. Not sure they're making up the distance that they did last week when we had a couple of traffic jams out on the race course. Of course, a little drier this week.
Yeah, traffic jams play a big part of it. There's some luck involved. When a traffic jam happens, it's a big problem for the guys that are waiting for that traffic jam to clear. I think heat's a little bit of a factor. It's also pretty hot, hotter than the last couple of rounds. So these guys are having to drink out of their drink systems and probably conserve some energy. Try to ride a little bit smoother so they know they'll have something left for that last hour or the last half hour when they really have to wick it up.
Through the start-finish line, you saw Yoakley pull to the rear deck of Bill Balance as we got a battle for first and second shaping up. Not only that, but battle really in the points as Balance came into this race about 12 points behind, almost had a get off right there.
Yeah, that's kind of a textbook swap. What a swap is when the rear end jumps over one direction and then it turns around and jumps back the other way. Sometimes that can just get more and more violent until you absolutely lose control of the machine.
My name's Matt Smiley, and I'm not stopping on pit road. Heck no. Back to the battle for the lead. That's William Yoakley ahead of Mark Hyde, and that's Bill Balance on the sidelines, letting him go by.
Yeah, maybe Bill realizes that William's keeping a little faster pace, and he'll just fall in behind him and see if he can't pick up and learn a little bit.
It was one of the most interesting questions in racing. Is it easier to lead or chase?
Well, it's much easier to chase because you can key off of the leader and maybe avoid some of the bumps that the leader's hitting. it's definitely easier. You could get back there and relax and kind of study the guys' lines and be a little more efficient.
Here comes Chad DUVALL again. You notice he took over the production class lead. DUVALL with that stunning upset last week in Sparta, winning the overall. Doing another good job making up time there. Back on the motocross section of the race course. Pretty tough for these guys really to get a lot of momentum too to make those doubles.
Yeah, another issue today is the dust. These guys have these little things called filter skins. And basically it's a little sheet that covers their air filter. In the event that the machine starts to bog, they pull that filter skin off, and underneath is a clean air filter.
Well, Bill Balance has some clean air. He's retaking the lead here in Ohio. Can he hold on to the end? The Grand National Cross Country Off-Road Racing Series is being brought to you today by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles. Now doing their best to keep the dust down here in Ohio. They're spraying a little water on the racetrack, but it's a big racetrack.
Yeah.
Plus it's tough to keep up with all the dust Yoakley's kicking up right here. Chad DUVALL, your production class leader, doing it once again. Riding with the goggles off. Mr. BORICH.
Yeah, that's difficult. When you lose your goggles, boy, you have to be super careful. There's a lot of tree branches out there and a lot of mud, and if you're not careful, you get a big chunk of mud in your eye and you wind up blinking and you can't see, and you just have to slow down.
But do racers really understand the term slow down?
Well, it's the last thing they want to do. Every second, every second they lose is like pain to them. They're taking this very seriously, and boy, if they have to stop, they're just absolutely going nuts.
Got Smiley in fourth place, is Brad Page in third.
You know, these machines, the tires are a big suspension component. They run pretty low pressures, probably about 7 or 8 pounds. They'd like to be able to run 4, 5, or 6, but when they do that, they just get flats too easy.
Bill Balance comes through the checkpoint, gets a little bottle of water, a quick slurp, a little bit on the body, try to cool you off. As we mentioned earlier, it's a warm day here.
Yeah, you know, you definitely want that evaporative effect. And anytime you can spray yourself down, you know, that saves you from having to sweat. The more you sweat, you know, the more chances of getting dehydrated there are later in the race. You'll see some guys with, you know, converted fire extinguishers splashing down their riders. It's hard to catch them, though.
Got to wonder what's going on in Bill Balance's mind right now. Remember this race 1 week ago, he was pretty much in the same position and kind of took it easy on the final go-round, but I bet he's pressing just a little bit harder this time.
Well, you know, I bet his pit crew does a lot better job of keeping him informed. You know, that'll probably never happen again. These guys are going to have pit boards out, and they're going to be letting the riders know, hey, you know, what the pro production class is doing, and the other pro riders as well.
Fresh pair of goggles. BORICH is kind of down and away rather slowly, but once he gets those adjusted, pick up the pace, try to keep up the pace. Bill Balance, who's kind of opening it up a bit now. Approaching 2 hours. Pretty physically exhausted at this point.
I'll tell you what, that looked like looked like the film was advancing, but that's actually how fast he was going. That looked like a fast motion.
Kind of see a lot of the guys picking up the pace now.
You can really see the suspension work there too. You know, you see the tires look like they actually touch the fenders.
Kind of get the impression that all these pro guys are really taking it up a level after last week.
Well, suspension systems are very important. You know, whatever the bike doesn't absorb, the rider has to. So the guy that spends a lot of time during the week, you know, playing with those clickers, maybe messing with the compression adjustments or the rebound adjustments or the spring preload, it's infinitely adjustable, and there's lots of different combinations. And when you get it set right for a particular rider, it's almost like cheating. The machine works so well.
But it's got to be a lot like, say, a parking lot speed bump, too, or the slower you go over these things, the more you feel it.
Right. There's some speed sensitivity going on, and even if your bike's not set up right, as long as you know what's getting ready to happen, you can kind of ride proactively, be ready for that, and you know, the end result is quick lap times.
Great brake slide there just a moment ago. As the lap's beginning to wind down, Chad DUVALL, the production class leader, is he within earshot this time? Not quite within that minute barrier, but still another dominant ride. Brian Baker trying to chase him down in second. That's the points leader of the category. And this is Bill Balance. You might remember a time where it seemed like everything would go wrong for him, and for William Yoakley it was all good, but now it's all good for Bill Balance, who takes his third win this year. And on the final results page, you can see Yoakley fell way off the pace, caught up with some lap riders as Brad Page, Matt Smiley finished second and third ahead of Yoakley, Santo Derisi in fifth. But for Bill Balance, back on his game.
You know, I let William around there on the third lap, and he was really charging hard behind me, and I knew he might be able to make the pace a little bit faster, so I let him around, and we went on, and the pace did pick up a little bit, but we got about halfway through the lap, and we got into water lappers, and I got back around William and started pulling away. I don't know what happened to him, if there was something wrong with the bike or what, but, you know, I never seen him after that, and just tried to set a smooth but fast pace on the last lap, trying to keep a distance from DUVALL. I didn't know exactly where he might be, and it's paid off. We got the checkered flag first.
Just as you suspected, Scott Summers, Yoakley goes around Balance to keep up a quicker pace, but look at the pace Bill Balance is on, eating another 3 points out of Yoakley's lead. Trails now by just 9 as Brad Page comes home very happy second.
Just laid with them and, you know, picked Balance or BORICH and SMILEY both off, and you know, I just kept picking the pace up. It felt great all day, and just, you know, got in the rhythm and kept climbing.
Chad DUVALL was on fire again in Ohio, nailing a tree super hard late in the race. He barely held off Brian Baker to take the win in the pro production class. 4 seconds, the margin of victory for DUVALL as Curtis Crump, Robin Page, and Thomas Barrett round out the top 5.
I got in the high speed section and the bike went sideways and pitched me down over the bank, and I landed on my head and I strained my neck and back pretty bad. I was just trying to get through that last lap here. I'm hurting pretty bad, and I wasn't going to give up on the last lap. It meant too much to me to struggle all day like that and then give up on the last lap. So I did it.
Tip the cap as well to Chris BORICH, who stopped to help DUVALL up, who hasn't helped himself into the top 5 yet, but there's a good explanation for that. He missed the first 3 races while riding with the pro riders. Time now to load up the trailer for Bill Balance and head to Taylortown, Pennsylvania. He's not only the most recent winner on the GNCC series this year, he's also the defending champ when we head to Matthews Farm.
Yeah, Matthews Farm, you know, that's Barry Hawk's old stomping grounds. You know, he's not riding the ATV anymore, but I'm sure he'll look forward to that place on the dirt bike.
And there's lots of hills in Pennsylvania, kind of like the roller coaster ride.
It's absolutely a lot like a roller coaster, but these guys, by using their handlebars, they determine where the track goes.
For Scott Summers, I am Dave Reef. We'll see you next week when we come to you from the Keystone State. So long, everybody. It took 7 rounds before former GNCC champ Brett Andrews was able to get his first win in 2002. And despite that victory, Andrews is still 61 behind the series points leader Jason Raines. The GNCC series comes to Matthews Farm for round 8. Hello everybody and welcome to Taylortown, Pennsylvania in the Matthews Farm GNCC race presented by Suzuki. Round 8 action of a series that has seen 5 different winners in the 7 races held so far this year. As everyone looks skyward today, they're going to find clouds that replace rain, but a racetrack that's going to be rather tricky today. The most recent winner, Brett Andrews, looks to do it again.
Yep, here to win as many races as I can. You know, last race went really well for me. This race here is going to be really physical. It's a lot of ruts and a lot of things can happen. And hopefully I'll get me a whole shot, and I'm going to put my Kawasaki out there in front and never look back.
And he's going to do it in hot country on a very beautiful day that challenged a lot of the riders.
With the weather not being that hot, it's definitely going to be, there's going to be guys going fast that normally would kind of be a little bit slower and pace themselves all the way through. Now you're going to have guys going fast right off the bat and fast the whole time. So a good start's going to be real key. Get up in front and ride with the leaders and see what the track looks like the first couple laps and then go from there.
Scott, it may be a cool day, but it's still going to be a tricky race.
Yeah, this is pretty technical. After a rain, you always get deep ruts, and it looks like it's going to dry up. The wind's blowing. It's going to get better, but it's going to be tricky for the first half of the race.
Here are the names and numbers of the guys you're going to be watching today, including Pennsylvania's own Barry Hawk, defending race champion here in Taylortown. Well, it's just about time to get going, and we do so from a dead start. Great start for Jason Raines. You saw him walk away from everybody else. He got the whole shot.